third graders. I want to say welcome to today's YouTube video. I am so happy that I've gotten to see so many of you on Zooms and in conferences, and it's been really nice to just get some pictures messaged from your families on Remind. I really miss your faces, and so it's really nice to just get to see you for a moment. I'm really proud of all my third graders who are working on iReady really hard, getting their 2 iReady reading and 2 iReady math lessons passed every single week, along with their reading, math, and writing assignments. You may notice that I've added a tab onto our math Canvas page that's called Printable Resources. So if your family has access to a printer, they can print these resources and you can work on them. They're kind of like a workbook or a packet. So today we're going to be reading Chapter 12 and Chapter 13 of The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane. Let's get started. Chapter 12. Ooh, I'm making some predictions based on this picture. Edward did not have much time to savor the light, for the dog suddenly appeared above him, dark and shaggy, blocking his view. Edward was pulled out of the garbage by his ears, dropped, and then picked up again, this time around from the middle, and shaken back and forth with a great deal of ferocity. The little dog growled deep in its throat, and then dropped Edward again, and looked him in the eyes. Edward stared back. "Hey, get out of here, you dog!" It was Ernest, king of garbages, and therefore king of the world. The dog grabbed Edward by his pink dress and took off running. That's mine, all garbage is mine," Ernest shouted. "You come back here." But the little dog did not stop. The sun was shining and Edward felt exhilarated. Who, having known him before, would have ever thought that he would be so happy right now? Crusted over with garbage, wearing a dress, held in a slobbery mouth of a dog, and being chased by a madman. But he was happy. The dog ran and ran until they reached the railroad track. They crossed over the tracks, and there, underneath a scraggly tree, in a circle of bushes, Edward was dropped in front of a large pair of feet. The dog began to bark. Edward looked up and saw the feet were attached to an enormous man with a long, dark beard. "What's this, Lucy?" said the man. He bent and picked up Edward. He held him firmly around the middle. "Lucy," said the man, "I know how much you enjoy rabbit pie." Lucy barked. Yes, I know. Rabbit pie is a true delight, one of the pleasures of our existence." Lucy yet let out a hopeful yip. "And what have we here? What have you so graciously delivered to me is definitely a rabbit, but the best chef in the world could be hard-pressed to make him into a pie." Third graders, does anyone know why that might be true? Why would it be hard to turn Edward into a pie? Lucy growled. "This rabbit is made of china, girl." The man held Edward close to him. They looked each other in the eye. "You're made of china, aren't you, Malone?" He gave Edward a playful shake. "You are some child's toy, am I right? And you've been separated somehow from the child who loves you." Edward felt again the sharp pain in his chest. He thought of Abilene. He saw the path leading up to the house on Egypt Street. He saw the dusk descending and Abilene running towards him. Yes, Abilene had loved him. "So, Malone," said the man. He cleared his throat. "You are lost." "That's my guess. Lucy and I are lost too." At the sound of her name, Lucy let out another yip. "Perhaps," said the man, "you would like to be lost with us. I have found it much more agreeable to be lost in the company of others. My name is Bull. Lucy, as you may have surmised, is my dog. Would you care to join us?" Bull waited for a moment, staring at Edward. And then, with his hand still firmly around Edward's waist, the man reached one enormous finger up and touched Edward's head from behind. He pushed it so it looked as if Edward were nodding his head in agreement. "Look, Lucy, he's saying yes," said Bull. "Malone has agreed to travel with us. Isn't that swell?" Lucy danced around Bull's feet, wagging her tail and barking. And so it was that Edward took on to the road with a man and his his dog. That's the end of chapter 12. Good thing we're reading chapter 13 also. They traveled on foot. They traveled in empty rail cars, but they were always on the move. But in truth, said Bull, we are going nowhere. That, my friend, is the irony of our constant movement. Third graders, I'm thinking back, and I remember that when we were reading Poppy, we talked about irony and what that means. I'm going to read that sentence again and see if it helps you remember what irony means. But in truth, said Bull, we are going nowhere. That, my friend, is the irony of our constant movement. Edward rode in Bull's bedroll, slung over Bed's shoulder, with only his head and ears sticking out. Bull was always careful to position the rabbit so that he was not looking down or up, but was, instead, forever looking behind him, at the road as they traveled. At night, they slept on the ground under the stars. Lucy, after her initial disappointment about Edward being unfit for consumption, took a liking to him, and slept curled up beside him. Sometimes she even put her muzzle on his china stomach. And then the noises that she made in her sleep, whimpering and growling, resonated inside of Edward's body. To his surprise, he began to feel a deep tenderness for the dog, meaning he liked her. During the night, while Bull and Lucy slept, Edward, with his ever-open eyes, stared up at the constellations. He said their names, and then he said the names of the people who loved him. He started with Abeline, and then he went on to Nellie and Lawrence, and from then on to Bull and Lucy. And then he ended again with Abeline. Abeline, Nellie, Lawrence, Bull, Lucy, Abeline. See, Edward told Pellegrina, I'm not like the princess. I know about love. There were times, too, when Bull and Lucy gathered around a campfire with other people. Bull was a good storyteller and an even better singer. Sing for us, the men shouted. Here's the picture. Bull sat with Lucy, leaning against his leg, and Edward balanced on his right knee, and he sang from somewhere deep inside of himself. Just as Edward could feel Lucy's whimpers and growls resonate through his body at night, he could also feel the deep, sad sound of Bull's songs move through him. Edward loved it when Bull sang. And he was grateful to Bull, too, for sensing that a dress was not the right kind of clothing for Edward. Malone, said Bull one night, it's not my desire to offend you or comment negatively on your choice of garb, but I'm forced to tell you that you stick out like a sore thumb in that princess dress. And also, again, with no wish to offend you, the dress has seen better days. Nellie's beautiful dress had not fared well at the dump, or in its subsequent ramblings with Bull and Lucy. It was so torn and dirty and full of holes that it barely resembled a dress anymore. I have a solution, said Bull, and I hope it meets with your approval. He took his own knit stocking cap, it's like a hat, and cut a big hole in the top of it, and 2 small holes on the side of it, and then took off Edward's dress. Look away, Lucy, he said to the dog. This is not to embarrass Malone by staring at his nakedness. Bull slid the hat over Edward's head and pulled it down and poked his arms through the smaller holes. There you go, he said to Edward. Now, you just need some pants. The pants Bull made himself, cutting up several red handkerchiefs and sewing them together so that they formed a makeshift covering for Edward's long legs. Now you have the proper outlaw look, said Bull, standing back to admire his work. Now, you look like a rabbit on the run. All right, third graders, we're not reading chapter 14 today, but here's the picture. See if you can make some predictions about what next week might have in store for us. All right, third graders, thank you so much for joining me today. It's great to get a chance to talk with you. Remember to post on those morning meeting posts and get your assignments turned in as much as possible. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.